With that story now, the National Union of Mineworkers women's structure is calling for safe working environments across all sectors. The union says the gang rape of 8 women in Krugersdorp was a violation of their human rights at their place of work. The women at the time were filming a music video. The NUM women's structure wants heavy sentences for the rapists. To discuss this further, I'm joined by Mathapelo Khanye. She is the NUM women's structure national secretary, and she joins me virtually from Johannesburg. Mathapelo, thank you so much for your time this evening. We just heard there from our reporter talking about civil society and other unions, including yourself, condemning those horrific gang rapes, and really a story that has just captured the horrific imagination of the country, where just where you thought we've seen the worst of gender-based violence in this country, a story of this magnitude happens while these women were trying to earn a living. Your immediate reaction to hearing that story? I think you've muted us.
Good evening, Marcelle.
Go ahead, please.
Yes. Good evening, Marcelle, and good evening to your viewers. And thank you very much for the opportunity to come and present what the horror has given to the trade unions, and in particular the women of the National Union of Mineworkers. You know, hearing the story that has happened, it's that this is one of the most gruesome actions that have been done to women, and that we feel that nothing or no justice has been done, proper justice has not been done. And hence, as the trade union, we are calling that the justice must be served, and the government must ensure that the perpetrators get the sentence that they deserve. And we further also saying that they should not be exonerated to their countries, because we believe that being exonerated to those countries, it will not serve justice to the 8 women as they were trying to make a living, and any other women across the country.
Now, you know, Mathapelo, the night that the Minister of Police, Bheki Cele, addressed the media close to the scene of where this horrific crime took place, there was a young woman on the sidelines from the community there called Nicolene Tromp, I believe her name was. And she spoke very passionately about the anxiety and the terror that women in that community live with every single day. And I'm sure it struck a chord with women in many communities across South Africa, that she spoke about that they cannot even safely walk from home to the shop to buy a loaf of bread without being fearful that something untoward was going to happen to them, or for their daughters, for that matter, to do the same. And then with respect to the work that you do for women to be able to go to work and come home safely and not expect something to happen to them to be raped or attacked or just abused in some way, shape or form. Something has got to give here. At what point or where do you think law enforcement should start, even if it's just a small win, in trying to reverse this gender-based violence scourge?
The first step that we believe that it will send a proper message. It's for no bail for any perpetrator until the cases are concluded. And to further ensure that the sentences that are laid upon the perpetrators once the cases have been concluded, they should be more harsher. And also visibility of our police into our communities. Because, Marcelle, if we not only talk of Krugersdorp, where that community is terrorized, each and every day there are so many communities that are being terrorized, whether by their partners or whether by these zamazamas. And it's like the police are not doing anything. I've also tried to go through and research today to check how many were apprehended, as communities have been complaining and crying to the police, and the police have been doing absolutely nothing. So we believe that the minister should hold accountable to the police officers that are in those areas.
what do you think should be done within our communities, in our areas where our families operate on a day-to-day basis? Because talking about harsher punishments and no bail at the ANC conference, the issue of chemical castration has come up again. That's punishment after the fact, as it were. But we've got a far deeper issue that gender-based violence is a scourge that we just can't get a handle on. We talk about how men and boys are being raised. We talk about the role of men in our communities. We talk about women having to lead so many households continuously at the backdrop of abject poverty as well. At a community level, we need to make inroads as well, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I believe that the inroads that we need to make, it's going back to basics and not being misquoted or misunderstood. I'm not saying that the gender-based violence never happened in the previous years, but previously we grew up knowing that the community raises a child. I will be leaving my house and I would know that my next door neighbor will be looking after my child or after my family. So I think with the social immorals that we are also faced with, it also adds on the issues of gender-based violence. And if we can come back to the drawing board as the communities and try to, work out on how looking after each other so that if something happens, I shouldn't fold my arms and hold back and say it's not my child or it's not my household. So looking after each other, that could be the start of everything. Because if these perpetrators knows that the neighbor watch, I am watching after my neighbor, he or she will not take an advantage. So it starts with us as the community. It starts with us as next door neighbors to say, are we looking after each other? Or do we just care about my own kids? I'm in my house and I'm safe, and that's the only thing that matters.
Okay, we're going to have to leave that discussion there, but one that indeed will continue, I'm sure. Thank you so much. That's Mathapelo Khanye. She's the National Secretary of the NUM Women's Structure. We thank her for her time this evening. We'll have more news after this. Stay with us.